They paid for her dreams, not mine. Same family, same graduation, 2 daughters walking the same stage, but only one funded by their pride. The crowd cheered my parents, waving roses at my sister, while I held my diploma bought with sleepless nights and cleaning shifts. "Smile, Mom," whispered through her phone's camera as if pretending made us equal. I smiled for the photo, not for them. Because what they didn't know was that this stage wasn't my ending. It was the first step toward something they'd never see coming. And when it did, they'd wish they hadn't underestimated the strong one. I used to think love in a family was supposed to be even like slices of cake on a birthday. But in our house, my sister Sienna always got the biggest piece, and my parents called it fairness. Growing up in Oregon, it was small things at first: her pink bike with ribbons, my rusted hand-me-down; her shiny ballet dress, my costume from last year's recital. Mom said I looked better in simple things. Dad just smiled, proud of how easy I was. That was the story of my life, easy to please, easy to overlook. Grandma Eleanor was the only one who noticed. She'd drive down from Montana every summer, her suitcase smelling of lavender and coffee beans. She called me her little oak, the one that grows slower but stronger. Once she handed me a wooden hair clip, my name carved on the back. "For when you feel unseen," she said. I wore it every time I needed courage, every time the world forgot I existed. By the time Sienna and I started college, the pattern was already carved in stone. The day tuition letters arrived, Mom was humming and the kitchen checkbook open on the counter. "We'll handle Sienna's costs," she said. Then she turned to me. "You've always been good at managing things, Madison. Scholarships will cover you." She said it like a compliment, like independence was something I'd asked for. I didn't argue. I nodded, smiling like a good daughter while my chest burned. That night, I filled out loan applications, then printed flyers offering tutoring sessions. During the day, I took accounting classes. At night, I cleaned classrooms counting coins from the vending machine area to make rent. Sienna called sometimes to complain about dorm noise or ask which dress fit her better for her sorority photos. I said, "You look great," every time, even when the words tasted bitter. When she posted pictures from beach trips and parties, Mom would share them online with captions like "Our Sunshine Girl." I never made it to their feed unless I sent grades. Then came a text, "Proud of you, honey. Keep it up." No emoji, no call, just words floating in a cold box of light. Still, I told myself they loved me just differently. That love could look quiet, restrained, practical. It wasn't until senior year, when graduation season came and my parents started talking about flying out for Sienna's big day, that I realized the truth. They weren't blind to the difference. They built it. So when the invitations arrived embossed with gold letters for both our ceremonies, I already knew which one they'd attend first. I didn't plan revenge that night. I just stared at my reflection in the dorm window and whispered, "Fine. Let's play this your way." Graduation morning came, dressed in sunlight and noise. The campus lawn was already crowded, families waving balloons, mothers crying behind their phones, fathers straightening ties. I walked past it all with my gown folded over my arm, the wooden hair clip warm between my fingers. Somewhere across the field, Sienna was laughing, her cap covered in glitter and gold letters that read, "She believed she could, so Dad paid." People thought it was a joke. I knew better. My parents had flown in 2 days early to help her move out. They stayed at a downtown hotel, took her to dinner, and posted pictures captioned "Proud of our girl." When I texted to ask if they wanted to grab coffee before my ceremony, Mom replied, "We're exhausted, sweetheart. Let's meet after the big event today." Big event meant Sienna's. Mine was later in the afternoon. Same school, same field, 2 names on the same list, but worlds apart. When my turn finally came, the bleachers were half empty. I scanned the crowd out of habit, hoping to see them, but the seats where they should have been were just patches of sunlight and forgotten programs. My stomach tightened, but I kept walking, my heels clicking steady across the stage. The dean handed me my diploma, smiled, and whispered, "You've done something special, Madison." I smiled back, swallowing the ache. Hours later, I found them in the parking lot. Mom was holding a bouquet of roses already drooping under the heat. Sienna was showing off her medal for leadership excellence. They turned as I approached. Mom smiled too brightly. "Sweetheart, we tried to make yours, but it ran long in the traffic." She trailed off when she saw my face. It's fine, I said. I didn't expect you to. Robert shifted uncomfortably, wiping sweat from his forehead. You did great, Maddie. We knew you'd be fine. There it was, the phrase I'd heard my entire life, the family's moral currency. You'll be fine. Their way of excusing absence of dressing, neglect, and faith. Mom's tone softened the same gentle knife she'd always used. You've always been the strong one, honey. You didn't need us hovering. The words hit harder than any insult could. I forced a laugh. Strong one. Right. Sienna looked uneasy for once. Mom, maybe. But I cut her off with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Don't worry, you can keep the flowers. They'll look better in your photos. I turned and walked away, the weight in my chest heavier than the diploma in my hand. Later that night, alone in my dorm, I placed the hair clip on the desk. The lamplight caught the tiny carved letters of my name. For when you feel unseen. Grandma's voice echoed faintly. I stared at my reflection in the window and whispered, not anymore. The night after graduation, I didn't sleep. The dorm was half empty, doors open, laughter echoing from down the hall, the sound of people celebrating. I sat at my desk, surrounded by boxes, the wooden hair clip beside my laptop like a witness. My phone buzzed with messages, classmates saying goodbye, recruiters sending automated replies, and one from Mom. So proud of both my girls today. Love you. No punctuation, no photo, just words too polished to feel real. I opened my drawer and pulled out the folder I'd kept since freshman year. Inside were receipts, pay stubs, and scholarship letters, proof of every hour I'd scrubbed floors, every shift I'd worked, every semester I'd funded alone. The paper smelled faintly of cleaning supplies. I stared at the stack until my chest burned. Then I opened my laptop and began writing. Dr. Lang had once told me, accounting isn't just about numbers, it's about truth. Every dollar tells a story if you're brave enough to read it. So I read mine. I drafted my personal essay for the National Accounting Excellence Award line by line. Not about being poor or pitied, but about integrity, resilience, and the invisible cost of strength. By sunrise, my fingers were trembling, my eyes raw, but the essay was done. I hit submit and exhaled like I'd been holding my breath for years. Weeks passed. I moved out quietly, leaving behind the dorm that had been both a cage and a cradle. I found a small apartment off campus, took double shifts at the library, and tried not to care when family group texts buzzed about Sienna's new internship. Then one evening, while I was shelving books, my phone vibrated. The subject line on the email froze me in place. Congratulations, Madison Reed. I read it twice before it sank in. I'd won. Out of hundreds nationwide, I'd been chosen for the award scholarship money mentorship and a trip to Chicago for the recognition ceremony. I pressed a hand to my mouth, shaking, half laughing, half crying. Later that night, I called home. When Mom picked up, I told her everything, my voice steady but hopeful. There was a pause. Then she said, "Oh, honey, that's great. Your sister's been so stressed with her job interviews. Maybe this will inspire her." The silence that followed was colder than any winter I'd known. "Sure," I said quietly. "Maybe it will." After the call, I slipped the hair clip into my hair and looked in the mirror. My reflection stared back, calm, sharp, unflinching. I whispered, "You don't need them to see you. The world already will." Chicago smelled like rain and second chances. The morning of the ceremony, the city glowed silver under a low sky, and every puddle reflected skyscrapers that looked too tall for what I'd come from. I stepped out of the cab in front of the Grand Marlowe Convention Center, a place so grand it felt unreal, crystal chandeliers, velvet ropes, polished marble floors that clicked under my heels. For once, I wasn't invisible. My name was printed on every program, my seat marked in gold ink near the stage. I checked my phone, one new text from Mom. "We decided to come after all. Traffic's bad. Save us seats." The words were casual, as if this were any other school event, not the night their strong one was being honored in front of hundreds. I typed a reply, "Sure," then put the phone away. No heart emoji, no expectations. Inside, the air buzzed with nerves and ambition. Students in sleek suits compared job offers, professors hugged old mentees, and sponsors lined the aisles. Dr. Lang waved from across the room, his grin wide enough to make me forget everything for a moment. "Madison," he called. "You did it." I smiled. We did. The ceremony began. Lights dimmed, a string quartet played softly, and the host, a man with the kind of voice made for microphones, took the stage. Tonight, we celebrate excellence, perseverance, and integrity in the field of accounting. The room applauded politely. I sat still, my fingers brushing the wooden hair clip at the back of my head, grounding myself. When they reached the award category, my heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear. This year's recipient, the announcer said, is a student whose story reminds us that strength isn't born from privilege, but persistence. Please welcome Madison Reed Columbia State University. Applause thundered through the hall. For a second I couldn't move. Then I stood smoothed the folds of my black dress and walked up the aisle. The lights were blinding, but I saw them, the familiar faces in the third row. My mother, lips pressed tight, my father stiff in his suit, and beside them, Sienna looking smaller than I remembered. Their smiles faltered as I reached the stage. I could almost hear their thoughts. How? When the spotlight hit me full force and I realized this was the first time they were truly seeing me, I took the certificate from the director's hands, thanked the audience, and turned toward the crowd. From up there, I saw everything: Mom's trembling fingers around her clutch, Dad's jaw tightening, Sienna's eyes wide. Their faces had gone pale, drained of certainty of control. The sound of applause seemed to stretch forever, a wave crashing over years of silence. I smiled, not the polite one I'd worn my whole life, but a real smile, steady, proud. After the ceremony, photographers swarmed the hall. Recruiters approached with business cards and congratulations. A woman in a teal suit stopped me near the refreshment table. "I'm Jenna Park, recruitment director at Everin & Co. We've been following your work through Dr. Lang. If you're open, we'd love to bring you to our New York office after graduation." My breath caught. Yes. Absolutely. "Good," she said, slipping a card into my hand. "We like people who build themselves." Across the room, I saw my parents hesitating by the exit. My father's hand rested on Mom's shoulder like he wasn't sure if they should come over. Finally, they did. Madison, Mom said, smiling too wide. "We didn't realize it would be so important. The stage, the cameras. Oh, sweetheart, you looked beautiful." "Thank you," I said evenly. Dad added, "You really surprised us tonight. Why didn't you tell us I met his eyes? Would it have made a difference?" He blinked, confused. "Of course. We could have helped." I laughed softly, the sound unfamiliar to them. "You already did. Every time you told me I'd be fine, I learned how to be." Silence fell. Mom's eyes flickered a mix of pride and guilt she didn't know how to hide. "You know we just wanted the best for you," she said. "No," I replied quietly. "You wanted the best for the daughter who needed saving. You never realized the one who saved herself might stop needing you." Sienna shifted uncomfortably beside them. "Maddie," I turned to her. "You don't have to explain. None of this is your fault." Her voice trembled. "I didn't know you felt like this. That's because no one ever asked. I said." Mom reached out as if to touch my arm, but I stepped back, gentle but firm. "You told me I was strong, Mom. Maybe you were right, because tonight, I finally believe it." Dad's mouth opened, but no words came. The silence between us wasn't angry anymore. It was finished. I nodded politely. "Enjoy the rest of your evening." As I turned toward the exit, I caught sight of Dr. Lang watching from across the room. He gave me a small nod, the kind that said, "Now they know." I smiled back. Outside, the rain had stopped. The city lights shimmered on wet pavement like scattered stars. I stood under the awning, clutching the folder against my chest, breathing in air that tasted clean and new. My reflection stared back from the glass doors, still me, but freer. Then a voice behind me. "Madison." I turned. Sienna was standing there, umbrella in hand, no makeup, just raw nerves and regret. "Can we talk?" she asked. I hesitated. "Now, please." We found a quiet bench near the fountain. The air was damp, the city humming around us. For a while, neither of us spoke. Finally, she said, "When they told me you won, I thought they were joking. I didn't know you were even applying for anything. I guess I never paid attention." I looked at her, her face pale under the streetlight. "You were busy being their favorite." I don't blame you." She shook her head. "I used to think you didn't care. You never asked for anything. I thought you liked being independent." "I liked surviving," I said softly. "There's a difference." Her eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Maddie, for all of it. I really am." I exhaled long and slow. For years, I'd imagined this moment her apology, their realization, my vindication. But now that it was here, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like release. "I believe you," I said finally, "but I can't go back to the version of me who needed it." She nodded, crying quietly. "Are we still sisters?" I smiled faintly. "Always. Just different now." We sat in silence as the fountain rippled, reflecting the city's lights. Somewhere inside the building, music started again. Laughter, champagne, applause. Life moving on. When she left, I stayed a while longer watching the water dance under the lights. Then I pulled out my phone, typed a brief thank you message to Jenna Park, and hit send. My future for the first time was entirely mine. As I walked back to my hotel, the wind caught my hair brushing the wooden clip against my neck. Grandma's voice echoed softly in my mind. "You're one of a kind, my little oak." I whispered back. "You were right." That night, I slept with the award certificate on the nightstand and the sound of Chicago rain against the window. I dreamt of the stage lights, of faces turned pale, and of the freedom that comes when you stop waiting to be seen. When morning came, the city looked new. I packed my bag, smoothed my hair, and took one last look at the skyline before heading to the airport. The sky was gray, heavy with promise. For the first time, I wasn't running away from home, I was walking toward one I'd built myself. New York didn't welcome me with warmth, it greeted me with motion. The city was loud, impatient, alive. I rented a small apartment on the Upper West Side, a place that smelled faintly of rain and ambition. Every morning, I rode the subway with a paper cup of coffee and a folder full of reports heading to Everin & Co., the firm that took a chance on me. I wasn't the top associate, not yet, but I was the one who never missed a deadline. That was enough. Sometimes when the office lights dimmed, I'd glance at the wooden hair clip pinned to my tote. It wasn't decoration, it was proof of where I'd come from. I still got texts from Mom, short and polite. "How's work?" or "Proud of you, sweetheart?" I answered with equal politeness. Sienna sent photos of Seattle, of her new job, of a simpler version of herself learning to grow up. I didn't resent her anymore. One Saturday as I left the office, I saw my reflection in the glass tower, hair wind-tossed eyes steady. I realized I no longer felt like the girl who had to earn her place at every table. I was the woman who built her own. They used to say it like praise. "You're the strong one, Madison." I carried that label for years, thinking it meant I had to survive without softness, without asking, without needing. But strength isn't silence. It isn't swallowing pain just to keep the peace. True strength is standing up from what broke you, refusing to let other people define your worth, and building a life that no one else can take credit for. I used to think family meant being loved no matter what. Now I know sometimes family is the people who see you when no one else does, the ones who clap for you when others stay quiet, and sometimes it's just you choosing yourself every single day. If you've ever been called the strong one and it left you feeling alone, tell me in the comments, how did you find your way back to yourself? And if this story hit a nerve, you're not alone here. Hit subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and stay until the end. Screen the next story waiting. There we'll show what happens when the forgotten daughter finally says no.